Greetings, loved ones. If I could have one wish for you, my wish would be that you could see your life through the eyes of Jesus. This is my wish because if you could look through the eyes of Jesus, you would see what a gift your life is to the world. This is what Jesus wanted Nathanael to see when they first met. We get to read about it in John chapter 1, verses 43 through 51. Nathanael's name literally means given of God. It comes from the Hebrew verb nathan, which means to give, and the word el, which means God. Nathanael, given of God. Nathanael's life was a gift. First and foremost, this is what Jesus wanted Nathanael to see. And it's no different for you and me. In this story, we are all Nathanael. Your life is a gift. Notice in this interchange how kind Jesus is at the very outset. He kicks off the interaction between him and Nathanael with a friendly little joke that doubles as an expression of esteem. The joke comes in the form of a pun. Upon first seeing Nathanael, Jesus exclaims, "Here is a true Israelite in whom there is no deceit." It's a play on words in that the expression calls to mind the patriarch Jacob, whom God would later rename as Israel, which means God wrestler. What Jesus says is funny in a winsome sort of way, because the name Jacob, Israel's former namesake, means deceiver. But Nathanael, Jesus says, has no deceit in him. Thus, Nathanael is a true, not a false or deceptive Israelite. Well, Jesus knows how to make an entrance, that's for sure. Well, this gets Nathanael's attention. So he asks how Jesus could possibly know who he is. And to this, Jesus replies that he already knows Nathanael because Jesus saw him while Nathanael was still, quote, under the fig tree, unquote. Some scholars believe this to be an idiomatic expression because the rabbis of Jesus' time used to refer to studying Torah as gathering figs. This interpretation seems to fit with the tenor of the conversation in that Jesus gently guides Nathan towards an aha moment in his wrestling with Torah. Jesus does this by connecting the dots between one of the central figures of Torah, Jacob, Israel, and the fulfillment of the Torah itself, the Messiah, who is standing in front of Nathanael now. It's as if Jesus is telling him, I saw you while you were still gathering figs, but now it is all coming together. The harvest is here, and your days of seeking, your days of collecting figs are over. Because it's all coming to fruition in me. And Jesus confirms this by referring to himself as Jacob's ladder. Jacob's ladder, which harkens a particular story in the book of Genesis. You may remember the story. Jacob, who had deceived his family to steal his brother Esau's blessing, ran away from home. He falls asleep one night in what he feels is like a God-forsaken place, when suddenly he has a vision of angels ascending and descending a great ladder that stretches between earth and heaven. And when he wakes up, Jacob realizes that the place that he was in was not God-forsaken after all. It's none other than the house of God, literally Bet-El, from the Hebrew word bet, meaning house, and El, meaning God. Now, the stunning claim that Jesus makes when he first meets Nathanael is that Jesus is the one who can help Nathanael, a true Israelite, make the connection between heaven and earth. Essentially, Jesus tells Nathanael, if you stay with me, you will see firsthand what Jacob saw so long ago. There are no God-forsaken places. And there are no God-forsaken people. That is what I have come to show everyone. Indeed, we are all swimming in a God-saturated reality. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. We just need eyes to see it. Childlike eyes, by the way. Now, Jesus can say this because Jesus is not just the one who has come from heaven to earth and will return to heaven, but he himself is the ladder by which we may make this heaven on earth connection. This connection is not a matter of waiting until we die. It can be a here and now reality. Yes, God's kingdom is available to us in what often feels like this God-forsaken place. In other words, Jesus himself embodies the essence of this God-saturated life, and his desire is that we would embody it too. To be sure, it may feel like a constant struggle, this wrestling with God to make a transcendent connection. We yearn for the scales to fall away from the eyes of our hearts so that we can at least see what God is up to in this world and in our lives. It's hard for us to see this reality, though, because the world likes to lie to us about what is real and true and good, which causes us to lie to ourselves, to others, and even to God. We want to see things the way they really are. We want to see truly. I like to think that the gift that God gave Jacob and the gift that Jesus gave Nathanael is the same gift the Spirit wants to give us all. It's the gift of graced eyes. Eyes that are simply able to take a long, loving look at the real. In a society that would try to convince us that we are merely on our own and God-forsaken, Jesus reminds us that there is no deeper reality than the reality that the entirety of existence is so God-saturated it would stop us in our tracks if only we could see it. We are swimming in God's love. Through Jesus, who is himself the perfect union of God and humanity, the very threshold of heaven and earth. Through him, God invites us to plumb the very depths of all the grace and joy and beauty and hope and freedom we could ever hope to experience in this world and the next. This is so because Jesus embodies what it means to live an integrated life, human and heavenly, all at once. Jesus shows us that the human life is the heavenly life. There need be no boundary between the two. Jesus smashes our dualisms by the wonder of faith. And what the Nathanael story tells us today is that it is the work of a struggling faith that enables us to integrate heaven and earth. For faith is itself the very energy that gives us the strength to wrestle with God. And as we wrestle, faith then opens up the very eyes of our heart to see what lies beneath our eyesight. By faith, we exchange the skeptical adage, seeing is believing, for the deeper truth that every child knows. Believing is seeing. My prayer for you this day, loved ones, is that like Nathanael, you would know deep in your bones the light-hearted kindness of Jesus toward you. And that you would see in his eyes and hear in his voice and sense in his heart the love and esteem he has for you. So that you could see in your own heart the gift that you are to the world. And I pray that the eyes of your heart would be able to see this world as it really is, filled with the weight of God's glory, saturated by grace, covered in love, and colored in joy. May your life be as the meeting point between heaven and earth as you place your faith in Jesus, the one who was the very revelation of heaven on earth. May God's Spirit integrate you so you may live as both fully God's and fully human, the very dwelling place of God, wherever you are, right here and right now. Amen. Be loved, my friends, because you are beloved.